Hi, I'm Tom Armbrust, Global Market Manager for Knee Bracing at DJO Global. I know many of you probably watch a lot of football. I know I do. And you've probably seen something like this quite often on Saturdays, Sundays, and even in high school football. A lot of offensive linemen and quarterbacks, and really a lot of players, use a rigid brace to help protect their knee, whether they're trying to do it preventatively or if they've had an injury. And what we want to talk about today is, well, not everybody plays football, and there's a lot of other sports that could use that same type of preventative therapy for their sports as well. And that's why we're going to talk about Playmaker II Force Point. And this is a brace that teams such as softball, volleyball, basketball, not your traditional contact sports like football, are using to help prevent knee injuries. The majority of the ACLs that happen are non-contact injuries. It's literally somebody stopping, planning, and tearing their ACL. Nobody's hit them, they haven't fallen down. And so what can we do to help prevent that? Playmaker II is designed to assist participants in sports like soccer, volleyball, and basketball to help give them a product to minimize their chance of ACL injury also. What we see a lot of players in these sports are wearing Playmaker II as a training device to help increase their flexion angles, which minimizes their time spent in what we call the at-risk position, which means you're more fully extended. And that's where you tend to see a lot of the injuries. Most of your injuries, as I mentioned before, are non-contact. So in sports where you have the opportunity to increase your flexion angles, you're minimizing your risk of injury, and that's where Playmaker II comes in. Many athletes today participate in injury prevention programs. Either they do it prior to practice or after practice. But think about using something like this, Playmaker II Force Point, during practice. While you're wearing the brace, your flexion angles are increasing. You're minimizing your risk from ACL injury and protecting your knee. A lot of coaches and a lot of athletic trainers are recommending that for sports such as basketball, volleyball, and soccer, that you could wear Playmaker II Force Point during practice, but then you don't have to wear it during the games and you still retain those flexion angles during the game to help protect your knee. It's an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Okay, I'd like to go over the application of the Playmaker II Force Point. So if you've ever worn a functional brace before, you know sometimes the Velcro straps can kind of get in the way a little bit when you're putting it on. So one recommendation is to loosen the straps up a little bit here. So that way when you're sliding it on, the Velcro doesn't get on your shirt and it's a lot easier to apply the brace. And I've got my favorite athlete here, Nick Gomez, who's going to show us exactly how to put this on. And you can see the Velcro is very aggressive, so that way, while it's on, it's going to stay on. There we go, Nick.
Slide it on.
Slide it right on. So one way to know what size that you would like to order, there's sizing charts on Better Braces and on our website. And you're going to measure basically 6 inches above the middle of your kneecap up to your thigh, and then measure that circumference. You can also do 6 inches below down through the calf, but they're all sized accordingly to calf to thigh, but your main measurement's on your thigh. So we tighten that up. The material on the Playmaker II is very breathable. It's a dry-tex material, so when you're in hot or very humid areas, you're able to have the knee breathe, you're able to wear it for a long period of time. So it's very comfortable in, say, very extreme conditions. All right, Nick, so why don't you go ahead and stand up. So you can see here, one thing I mentioned earlier, I talked about the Force Point hinge and the preventative side of protecting your knee. Force Point allows you, when you're going from some flexion, so once you get a little bit flexed here in your knee, and as you go into full extension, that's when you tend to have a lot of risk for tearing your ACL. And a lot of people tend to land fully extended, like this. Force Point gives you a little bit of a dampening effect as you go from a flexed position to a fully extended position, and by helping your flexion angles, you're minimizing your chance of ACL injury. And that's why we see a lot of people use this hinge for preventative measures, and after they've had an ACL injury, to also use this type of a hinge called Force Point to minimize their chance of injury.
So Tom, how do I clean this brace?
It's real simple, Nick. All you have to do is take it off, put it in the sink, use some mild soap and a washcloth, hot water, cold water, it really doesn't make any difference. Rinse it out and hang dry it. And that way it protects the brace Longevity, you have about a 6-month warranty on the brace, so the more you wash it and keep it clean, the longer that you're going to have it. Real simple.